We saw some electronic equipment that help us to identify listening devices, but the physical inspection is as important as the use of electronic equipment in order to find hidden listening devices. So let's start with the borescope. Borescope are a must equipment when we talk on physical inspection, as we can reach points in the environment where we cannot reach with our eyes. Now, borescope are made of conducting wire that has a camera in its endpoint, or sometimes just a fiber optics wire which does not need a camera in its endpoint, as the fiber can transfer the image directly through the wire, through the fiber, to an optical viewer. But I must say that this kind of solution is not seen very much lately, as the conducting wire with the camera is cheaper and basically has an excellent quality and angle of view. Some can have a controller that can control the camera position, so it can make up to 360 degrees turn to better inspect the ambient where it is located. So here we can see a fiber optics viewer, and this is an example of fiber optics borescope which I mentioned in the previous slide, and it can be obedient, which means that you can have control on the endpoint, or non-obedient, which means that you do not have any control on the endpoint, of course. And so this is an example of obedient borescope where you can control the position of the endpoint and turn it 360 degrees. Let's see it in operation. Okay, so this is an obedient borescope. You saw how the endpoint is controlled. And this is a good example for this type of equipment. And you need to have a toolkit, and this is an example of a toolkit that contains different types of tools, mirrors, flashlights, etc. Since you will always get a situation where you need to use it in order to get a better look on some objects or part of the construction, outlets, electrical installation, etc. So this is also part of our sweep toolkit always. And this type of equipment is basically a borescope with a control on the endpoint camera and a telescopic mast that can be extended to reach high points with difficult access. In many cases, it is always suggested to take a foldable ladder so we can use it for this purpose, but especially when you have to travel by flight, it is recommended that you check with your client if he has a ladder, which they usually have, and avoid taking a ladder with you, which may be logistically annoying when it involve the flight in going to the place of the service. And this is also basically a borescope. And I use it for analyzing tubes and mainly air conditioning tubes. It is waterproof and has extremely long cable that connect the camera with the screen and video recording system. So this is another type of equipment that we need to use. So I made a list that summarized the scope of the main activities that need to be considered in a sweep service. So this list is not final list, but there are always more measures that can be taken, but it constitutes the most basic activities as I know from my experience. For example, this list does not include the investigation of digital media, of which I will dedicate separate lessons. And as I said before, this is just a general review of the mentioned items, and we will go into details in the coming lessons. So just to resume, we talked about scan of radio frequency spectrum for suspicious signals. We talked about acoustic leakage from walls and pipes. And verification of hot points with thermal camera. We talked about nonlinear junction detection, and of course we will go into more details. Sweep of difficult to access environments, mainly lowered ceilings and raised floor and stuff like this. Checking cables, wires, and extensions that exist in the environment. Checking the air conditioning tubes and ducts in general. Checking electrical and telephone installations in the environment. Checking building roof with drones. And checking walls and suspicious objects via X-ray equipment. So this was a general review on all the activities that includes in the scope of room sweep. And in the coming lessons, we will go into more details in each one of the mentioned items.